All right, the Colts take on the Jaguars, and that's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern start time on Sunday, January 9th, 2022. The Indianapolis Colts are minus 14 with the total at 44. And if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website at brockpage.com. And if you're getting ready for the big college football national championship on Monday night, you may want to think about signing up for my college football tier package picks on that very website. We're currently 6-1 in our last 7 picks in that category. The link for those college football tier package picks is in the description section below. Now, if you want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you may want to think about signing up for my board member tier, where board members get access to every single pick that I give out on that webpage all the way through the end of January. And if you were to sign up for my board member tier here today, the math would actually work out to be just $2.17 a day all the way through the end of the month. And on an average of 5 premium sports picks a day, that actually works out to be just 43 cents a pick. But as far as the free content goes on this channel here on YouTube, the Colts can clinch a playoff spot with a win here today in Jacksonville. But it may not be as easy as people think. The Colts have failed to cover against the likes of Vegas, Tampa Bay, and this very Jacksonville team here recently. And when it actually comes to head-to-head matchups, the Colts failed to cover in 9 out of their last 10 meetings with Jacksonville. So think about those things if you're looking to fire on this game. Having said all that, though, we are looking at a Colts team who won 6 out of their last 8 ball games, and they played their best football on the road. As a matter of fact, the Colts won 5 of 7 away from Lucas Oil Stadium, and they successfully covered the point spread 6 times in those road games. Now, Jonathan Taylor's rushed for over 1,700 yards this year, along with 18 scores. I feel like the Colts have really done a lot of damage offensively quietly. I feel like not a lot of people are talking about that. And of course, no real surprise here. The Colts are second in the league in offensive rushing, and they're averaging 28 points per contest. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the football, Kenny Moore and Darius Leonard, they each have 4 interceptions apiece for this Colts defensive unit. Now, Indy currently finds themselves in the top 3 in the league in fewest road points allowed. They're taking on a Jacksonville team who's struggled offensively all season long. And as a matter of fact, they're scoring only 14 points a game on average. And they're turning the ball over more than any other offense in the NFL. The Jags are currently on an 8-game losing streak. And they also failed to cover the point spread 7 times during that span. So not only are these guys not getting the job done in the win-loss column, they're not cashing any tickets for anybody either. Now defensively, on the other side of the football, the Jags are allowing 28 points per contest, and they currently rank dead last in defensive takeaways. Now injury-wise, O'Shaughnessy is out, Griffin and Allen are questionable. Meanwhile, for Indy on the other side, Rhodes is out. Buckner is questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, the Colts saw their last 4 straight ball games all fall under the posted number. Meanwhile, Jacksonville, they went 6-2 to the under on their home field this year. 69% to the under for the entire season at any location. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Indianapolis Colts minus 14.5 and the under 44 in the tight window. Next ball game, it is going to be Titans versus the Texans, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. The Tennessee Titans are minus 10 with the total at 42.5. Now, the Titans can secure a first-round postseason bye with a victory here today over Houston. But if you think this one's going to be a cakewalk, just take a look at the Titans' losses this year. They lost to the likes of Chicago, New York Jets, and this very Houston team. Those weren't just failures to cover, guys. Those were outright losses. It seems as if these guys clearly didn't prepare well for the weaker competition. really played down to their competition, and I think it was a preparation problem. Having said all that, though, just keep in mind, Tennessee has won 7 out of their last 10 ball games, with victories over the likes of Jacksonville and New Orleans during that stretch. So they do, they have proved they can prepare for the Cupcakes. It's just a matter of if they want to. And of course, typically that first round bye is the key to a Super Bowl bound season. So there's that at stake as well. This is virtually a playoff game for Tennessee. You got to imagine these guys will be ready to stomp on Houston today. And of course, despite the absence of Derrick Henry for most of the season, the Titans still have the #1 rush offense on the road. Now, defensively, they're limiting their competition to just 85 yards a game on the ground, and they currently rank in the top 10 in fewest points allowed per contest. Harold Landry has 12 sacks on the season, along with 71 total tackles. Meanwhile, safety Kevin Byard has 5 interceptions from the secondary, along with 83 total tackles himself. Now, they're taking on a Houston team who's dead last in the NFL in rushing, and they gain fewer total yards per contest than any other team in football. And in addition to throwing for just $188 per contest, the Texans are averaging only 15 points a game. Now, injury-wise, Taylor, Conley, Moore, Rivers, and Akins are questionable for Houston. Meanwhile, for Tennessee, Dupree is questionable for them. Jones and Tart are sitting this one out. And when it comes to the number in this one, 5 out of Tennessee's last 7 road games did get over the posted total. Meanwhile, 5 out of Houston's last 8 home games got over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Tennessee -10 in the over 42.5. Next contest, it is going to be Steelers versus the Ravens, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. And this could be Big Ben's last football game in the NFL. Baltimore is -3.5 in this one with a total at 41 points. But despite being favored in this one, we're not going to see Lamar Jackson in action here today. Huntley's getting the start at the helm. And despite being, in the driver's seat with regard to the playoff picture at the end of November, I'm telling you, I said it before, I'll say it again. That failed 2-point conversion for the win against Pittsburgh on December 5th, that has set these guys into a tailspin. Like I said, I said on this channel back when it happened weeks ago that play killed their season. These guys were in the driver's seat. They were playing good football. They had a great record. And for some reason, they go for 2 recklessly, and they don't get it against Pittsburgh. And it literally killed their season. The Ravens are currently on a 5-game losing streak since, that happened, including that game. And they have one of the worst defenses in the AFC. This Baltimore secondary allows more passing yards per contest than any other team in the NFL. And this Ravens defensive unit as a whole is currently in the bottom 5 in the league in takeaways. Now they're taking on a Pittsburgh team who got the W in 3 out of their last 5, with victories against the likes of Cleveland, Tennessee, and this very Baltimore team. Najee Harris has rushed for nearly 1,200 yards this season, along with 7 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Deontay Johnson has over 1,100 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns himself. And even when the Ravens, start to run away with this one, if they do end up starting to, pound the Steelers in this game, you're still probably going to be alive if you're a Steelers fan, because these guys currently lead the entire NFL in fourth quarter scoring on the road. So there are some backdoor cover potential, possibilities here today. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Harvin and Moore are questionable for Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, Ricard and Jackson are out. Cleveland, Owe, Duvernay, and Powers are questionable. And when it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Baltimore's last 4 outings got over the posted number. 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Steelers went 4-3 to the over in their last 7 on the road. I'm going to lean toward Pittsburgh plus 3.5 in the over 41. Next ball game, it is going to be Saints versus the Falcons, 4:25 Eastern kickoff. New Orleans is -3 with the total at 40. Now, the Saints actually got the W in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. They also went 3-1 against the spread during that stretch as well. New Orleans has also played their best football on the road this year, winning 5 of 8 away from home and successfully covering the point spread 5 times during that span. Now, Demario Davis has triple-digit tackles on the season, 3 sacks and 17 tackles for loss for the linebacker. Meanwhile, Malcolm Jenkins has 77 tackles on the year himself, along with 5 PBUs and a pick 6. The Saints defense allows only 19 points a game, and they've got a top 5 rush defense. They're taking on a Falcons team who's been pretty bad against the number here recently. They failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they also went just 1-6 against the spread on their home field. Now, the Falcons are averaging only 18 points a game, and they currently find themselves in the bottom 3 in rush yards per contest. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the football, they've had a pretty difficult time stopping the run this year, and they're allowing 27 points per contest. Now, injury-wise, Darby, Mayfield, Pitts, Hawkins, Davidson, and Allison are questionable for the Falcons. Meanwhile, for New Orleans, Jordan, Armstead, Roby, and Williams are out. Davenport, Ramczyk, and Ingram are questionable. When it comes to the scoring in this one, 5 out of New Orleans' last 8 road games fell under the posted number. 63% to the under for the entire season at any location. Meanwhile, Atlanta saw 5 out of their last 7 home games fall under the line themselves. They went 10-6 to the under for the whole year anywhere as well. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward New Orleans -3 and the under 40 points. All right, next matchup should be a good one. I'm talking about the Niners versus the Rams. And that's going to be a 4:25 Eastern start time. Now, Los Angeles is -3.5 with the total at 44. Now, the Rams currently have a top 5 pass offense, and they're actually leading the entire NFL in offensive yards per play. These guys have been really good offensively. They did hit a little blip, in the middle of the season, but overall, these guys have been dominant offensively. Having said that, though, they have had some problems with covering the point spread down the home stretch. They failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10 ball games, with failures to cover coming against the likes of Baltimore, Houston, and Detroit during that span. And as good as these guys have been offensively, like I was mentioning, a few moments ago, they actually haven't done a spectacular job in establishing the run. And as a matter of fact, these guys are currently in the bottom 10 in the NFL in rush yards per contest. And if you're into prop betting, maybe you want to, throw a bet down on maybe a first quarter or a second quarter or what have you, just keep in mind, LA is actually in the bottom 3 in the NFL in second quarter scoring at home. Maybe you want to fade LA in the second quarter or bet the under. I don't know, but just keep that in mind. They're taking on a San Francisco team who got the W in 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Los Angeles. And in addition to that, the Niners successfully covered the point spread in 70% of those meetings. Now, the Niners currently have themselves a top 10 rush offense on the road, and they're currently in the top 3 in offensive yards per play when traveling. Deebo Samuel's caught 73 balls for 1,310 yards and 6 scores. Meanwhile, defensively, Nick Bosa has 15 sacks on the year, along with 19 tackles for loss. Now, the Niners are currently in the top 5 in the NFL in stopping the pass. And when it comes to the injury report, Williams, Johnson, Ward, Harris, Hurst, Greenlaw, Alshire, and Thomas, they're all questionable for San Francisco. Jimmy G is getting the start as well, and I think he's got like a broken thumb. Something's wrong with his thumb or his hand. Meanwhile, for the Rams, Scott and Akers are questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, the Rams saw 5 out of their last 8 ball games fall under the posted number. LA also went 4-3 to the under at SoFi Stadium. Meanwhile, the Niners on the other side saw their last 4 straight all fall under the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean towards San Francisco plus 3.5 and the under 44. Next ball game, it is going to be Chargers versus the Raiders, 8:20 Eastern kickoff. The LA Chargers are -3 with a total at 49. Now the Chargers won 3 out of their last 5 ball games, 4-3 straight up on the road this year. LA's got themselves the number 3 pass defense on the road this season. Meanwhile, offensively, they're in the top 10 in offensive yards per play when traveling. Justin Herbert's thrown for over 4,600 yards and 35 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams each have over 1,000 yards receiving apiece and 14 combined touchdowns between the two of them. Now, LA's scoring 28 points per contest, and they rank in the top 5 in throwing the football. They're taking on a Raider team who allows nearly 26 points a game, and they rank in the bottom 3 in defensive takeaways. They could potentially have a rough evening here tonight. Now, Las Vegas has failed to cover in 5 out of their last 8 at Allegiant Stadium, and they've had significant problems turning the ball over offensively. They're in the bottom 10 in offensive turnovers, and they're actually rushing for only 90 yards a game. Now, injury-wise, Hayward, Hankins, Waller, and Nassib, they are questionable to play. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, Tranquil is questionable. Gaziano is out. When it comes to the scoring in this one, LA saw their last 5 straight all get over the posted number, 80% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Raiders saw overs recently against the likes of Kansas City, Dallas, and Philadelphia. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers -3 and the over 49. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are currently 6-1 in our last 7 college football tier package picks. I like Indianapolis -14.5 under 44. Tennessee -10 over 42.5. Pittsburgh +3.5 over 41. New Orleans -3 under 40. San Francisco +3.5 under 44. LA Chargers -3 over 49. As far as all the other games go across the NFL, I like Minnesota -4 under 44.5. Give me Cleveland -5.5 under 37. I like Detroit +3 over 44 and a hook. Give me the Washington football team -7 under 37.5. I like Carolina +9 over 41. Give me Buffalo -16.5 over 40 points. I'm also leaning toward Miami +6 over 40. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Seattle +5.5 and the over 48. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you're actually going to get access to those picks all the way through the end of January. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.